With the exception of none, the global opinion on Israel is shifting. We've all heard about the U.S. shipment of arms that has been frozen now for months. This really begs the question, what if Israel has to fight this war alone? Does Israel have the capability to defend itself by itself? This wouldn't be Israel's first round of being maligned and alone on the world stage, but today we're going to take a historical look into Israel's military buildup, as well as into a look into what's going on now and how Israel may fare in the midst of this crisis with, could be, zero help from the international world. I'm Joshua, and this is the Israel Guys. Guys, diving right in today, Senator Tom Cotton really lays it straight with all that's going on the global stage, with America withholding arms to Israel, who is surrounded by existential threats, trying to defend itself. The Biden administration is saying no to some bombs that are supposed to be here, that are not here. And currently the folks at the Biden administration don't even know what's going on. Well, that sounds reasonable to me. Of course they don't know what's going on. But Tom Cotton says, Senator Tom Cotton, who is a great friend of Israel, says this: the administration can then claim, the Biden administration can then claim that the weapons are in process while never delivering them. Now, this is a part of a much larger discussion that Senator Tom Cotton had with leaders in Washington, D.C., and he's addressing the issue that the Biden administration is saying one thing, yet doing another. Saying, I don't know what you're talking about. We sent the weapons. The weapons are not arriving. That's a problem. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, said in a public statement, which is getting a lot of heat around the world, the public statement on these issues, kind of bringing that dark little corner of what's going on in America and the hostilities towards Israel. He brought that to light, and thank God he did. It's helping. First off, in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's statements, he thanked the U.S. for support that they have given, but then said this: but 4 months ago, there was a dramatic decrease in munitions coming to Israel from the U.S. For long weeks, we turned to our American friends and requested that the shipments be expedited. We did this time and again. We did so at the highest levels, and at all levels, I want to emphasize, we did so behind closed doors. We received all sorts of explanations, but one thing we did not receive: the basic situation did not change. Certain items arrived sporadically, but the munitions at large remained behind. This is from the Prime Minister of Israel. This is what's actually going on here. So what you hear the Biden administration say, we're sending supplies to Israel to fight the war, the existential threats that they face around them, we stand with Israel, we support Israel. That's a bunch of garbage. That's not what's actually happening on the scene. The Prime Minister is reaching out to tell the world the truth. Israel's not receiving what they need. The promised supplies that were supposed to be coming to Israel are not coming in. The White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said this, that he was perplexed about Bibi Netanyahu's statements and claims that America wasn't fulfilling their obligation and what they had agreed upon. He also says this: there's no other country, this is John Kirby, no other country that's done more or will continue to do more than the United States to help Israel defend itself. Again, following the Biden administration's claim of saying one thing, yet doing another. Best of all, the White House press secretary, we could all expect a lot out of, says this: perfect. We genuinely do not know what he's talking about. She really does not even know what's going on. And really, I would like someone from the public, maybe someone around her, to maybe give her a briefing on some of the public news that's actually out, things that she should be aware of, that there's a large shipment. There's 2,000 bombs that are being delayed for now months, and she doesn't know she didn't even know about this. Someone needs to brief her on the situation and what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is talking about. From what I understand, this is fairly common for the White House press secretary at the moment. But the reasons why these bombs are supposedly being delayed, according to the Biden administration, is because they potentially will cause civilian deaths in Gaza. So they pulled back and said, we're not allowing bombs to go into Gaza. Note there's still American hostages there. That's what insane to me. We're going to pull back on the war against terror while we literally still have hostages there, including Americans. Here's what Israel needs. They need those bunker buster bombs to effectively destroy Hamas. So here's one thing. If America does not allow those bunker buster bombs in, and whatever else is attached to it, I'm sure there's a whole bunch more. If they don't allow those, Israel is challenged with, will they be able to defeat Hamas? Of course, it'll take longer. They'll do it eventually if the world doesn't go ballistic and pull Israel and tie Israel's hands, as they're trying to do now. But will they be able to achieve this goal without these? Well, it's going to be much harder. And the need for these bunker busters is because the tunnels are so deep, these bombs penetrate deeply and destroy infrastructure. That's what's needed. Now, there's two messages that are being delivered by the Biden administration by holding these bombs back. One is they're holding back Israel from a decisive victory over Hamas, which you'd think would be in American interest, really. Secondly, they are sending a signal to Hezbollah that Israel doesn't have what it needs. That's a bad signal. They're telling Hezbollah, now's a good time. Now's a good time to engage a full-scale war on Israel. Now, the Biden administration says something different. They say that we're trying to calm the situation in the Middle East. It's flared up, and we're doing everything we can to try to ease the tensions and bring the escalations down. On the other hand, what they're actually doing is escalating the war front and sending a clear message to Hezbollah now. Attack Israel now. We are not sending shipments. Attack. That's what those two things are being clearly communicated to Israel's enemies, and also enemies of America. Let's always be clear on that. We'll be right back, but first, Israel's brave soldiers risk everything to defend God's people and the free world from evil. Many have paid a terrible price, coming home with devastating injuries that have changed their lives forever. Take Lieutenant Colonel Mayan Mullah, for example. In Gaza, to fight Hamas, he was ambushed and struck by over 140 pieces of shrapnel through his body. Mayan has already endured 7 surgeries and is now permanently disabled, unable to work or be with his wife and young children as he rehabilitates. Think about Sar Exelrad, a young father gravely wounded by Hezbollah rocket, which left him with a skull fracture, brain injury, and broken bones. He also remains hospitalized, unable to return home to his pregnant wife and the 10-month-old son he may never be able to pick up again. These heroic soldiers sacrifice everything to protect our freedom. Now they need our help to support their families as they recover. The financial burden they face is unimaginable. Please give generously to the Israel365charity.com to provide critical assistance for food, housing, childcare, and more. Again, that's Israel365charity.com, or just click the link in the description below. At the same time, the Nasrallah, Lebanon's leader, I quote, says this: "If war is imposed on Lebanon, the resistance will fight without restrictions or rules." Yeah, sounds like what's going on in Gaza. Same kind of folks, same kind of war, how they fight, wage wars, out rules, running in headlong, committing heinous crimes. That's what we see. That's Islamic, that's terror. Those are the entities that are Israel's faces right now. He also reached out to leaders from Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen, and those countries reached out to Nasrallah, saying that they would love to send fighters to help him. This was Nasrallah's response back. He says, "We told them thank you, but we are overwhelmed by the number we have." Supposedly, there's 100,000 fighters ready to fight in Lebanon now, at this moment, with thousands, hundreds of thousands of rockets facing it at Israel, with full support from Iran and all these proxy groups around, including the nations just mentioned, Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. These nations are ready to pounce. And the signal that America is giving, once again, is Israel's weak. We, the strong ally that has partnered with Israel to defend and to support Israel, if we're backing out, now attack. That's what is literally being pushed at the world stage. Now, I want to outline right now, and this is the main thrust of the show, worst case scenario. And to some would disagree. Some think that worst case scenario would be Israel does it alone. And that's actually best case scenario. With all the political powers that may be, I can understand. Israel trusts God. It'll all work out. That's Israel's biblical history, and we know that. But we're going to take a practical look at this right now. Worst case scenario, Israel has to do it alone. Currently, we're taking a practical look at what's going on. Currently, the U.S. supplies Israel with nearly 70% of its major conventional arms imports. So what Israel doesn't have mostly gets from America. A little bit from Germany, a little bit from Italy, and a few other countries. Israel, this is actually a big note. Other than that, the percentage of imports is pretty high, but Israel is ranked as the 9th largest arms exporter in the world. So unlike in 1948 when Israel was just here surviving and miraculously, today Israel has a military, and not just a military, it has a highly sophisticated military with very technologically advanced systems. Those systems that Israel exports are traditionally and specifically geared toward the advanced technological side of modern warfare. So all of this gives Israel really a high level. Now, let's take a historical look quickly on how Israel got there and where is Israel at today. 1967, Israel lost a vital arms contract with the French. When Israel lost that contract, it threw Israel into a flurry of, whoa, we can't trust the nations. This was really good for Israel back then, and they embarked on a mission to become fully self-sufficient and not dependent on any other nation. This was back right in 1967, right when they needed it most. This crazy war. Thank God it only lasted 6 days, a miraculous miracle. But following this pullback from the French, the dropping of all weapon shipments, Israel understood that they must, and with a sense of urgency that they had at that time, jumped into an unprecedented presidential revolution that drove the manufacturing of military equipment to a mass level. This was incredible. Israel is now on a road to being self-sufficient militarily. This continued until the 1980s, and at the 1980s, Israel was, for the most part, self-sufficient. Like, it had advanced systems in incredible ways, and Israel was really at an incredible moment and stage in its military buildup. Now, a big problem occurred. The economic situation of the 1980s and 90s drove Israel to pull back their budgets that were dedicated to producing their military power, and due to this, that the military growth that they had seen was scaled way back. And this made way for more partnerships with America. Now, from the 1980s onward, we see major partnerships with America, which proved until now to be a good thing. The partnerships between America and Israel have done incredible things militarily. Israel brought amazing things to the table, worked along with America. One of the greatest militaries in the world, America, known around the world for this. We don't argue with that. We have an amazing military. Questionable on the leadership of that military at this point. But up till now, we've had great partnership, Israel, America. We've had some bumpy things across the way, but overall, we've had major success in military developments. Now, what happened now? What's happened now with the withholding of weapons to Israel after we've been partnered with Israel, America, since the 80s, we really haven't had this kind of level of Israel's in a full-scale war, and we're withholding equipment. That's a big deal. And what's happening now with the relationship between Israel and America is a bit like the 1967 relationship with the French, where Israel's at a wake-up moment. We cannot rely on the nations. Look at how many years has passed, but yet the same historical thing is happening. Israel's understanding we cannot trust the whims of the nations around us to supply our security. And this is what they're finding out right now. And right now, the same move as what happened in 1967 with the French, Israel's pushing to become self-sufficient yet again. We hope that this proves successful. There's many things that Israel needs from America as what it needs right now. But will they be able to get them, and how will they survive without them? Well, the biggest hope is that Israel would drive fast and furious to obtain those, create these themselves. But will this happen? This is where we're at historically right now. In conclusion, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this, but I would like to emphasize and I have said this to our American friends, there is one item we have, and it will always be decisive. The heroism and determination of our fighters, and with this weapon, we will win. I couldn't agree more wholeheartedly with the Prime Minister in this statement. The people of Israel always win. Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel live. They will always live. The situation that we're in right now is very critical. Now, in history, we know Jews have suffered immensely. We pray to God that what we see on the world stage and the development of anti-Israel sentiment and hostilities against the Jews globally, that this will not escalate farther and that Israel would remain the safe haven for the Jewish people that they did not have in years past. We hope and pray that it remains a safe haven for Jewish people to gather here in the land of Israel. What I would say to all of you is this is a critical time. Israel is facing existential threats from its neighbors, its enemies around the world, and we must, as Israel supporters around the world, do something. I'll leave you with that. We must engage and bless and serve the people of Israel at this critical time in history. Lastly, we just have a few more days of the giveaway from our join our mailing list, and please do that. We'll send you a list of great merch from our stuff here at our shop. Do that, join our mailing list, and you'll be added straight to that giveaway. Hope you win. And don't forget also to support the IDF soldiers who have been wounded in this war. Go to Israel365charity.com or click the link in the description below. As always, guys, get the conversation going and tune out that fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every Monday through Friday with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.